Hey, my loves, it's Tesh here. And today I want to talk to you guys about bread. I was eating my lunch today. I was having some Panera bread, and they always give you the French baguette. And for some reason, because this one came out so dark, it reminded me of the French bread my mother used to buy when we were little. And she probably still does it now, but of course, she don't cook for me anymore. She only cooks for her grandkids. So she will put French bread on her altar because my grandmother passed a few years ago, probably about 14 years ago. And what my mom would always do is put some honey with some bread and a glass of water and a white candle next to my grandmother's photo on her ancestor altar. She keeps pictures of both my grandmothers and now my grandfather on that altar. And I just remember her always having bread. She always kept a goblet of water that was full to the rim and clean water. The water was always crystal clear. And there was always a French baguette there. And she will just break a piece of the baguette off just like this. Just broken. And put it on her altar and then have some honey next to it. And I will just wonder why she was giving grandma and grandpa, my grandmothers at the time, it was both grandmothers, honey and bread, because I didn't really see them as a lot of bread eaters. But either way, it was always an offering on the altar. So I started researching the magic when it came to bread, because of course, if my mom is using it, that means it must be something extremely old school. And when I started doing a little bit of research, I realized that bread has been used in religion and in altars and things like that from before we could even imagine. It's been like forever, Egyptian times and all of that. We've always used some type of bread with our meal, some type of bread with blessings. So bread, you can use it in your abundance spells. You can use it for spiritual healing, financial healing, or just your health overall. I mean, when I say I was so surprised at all of the things you can do with bread. I only remember my mom and my grandma having it for an offering. And I do remember my grandmother putting it with candles and things to that nature, but she'll be doing a specific spell and she will do things like put olive oil on the bread or whatever conditioning oil she'll be doing. But other than that, that's all I would see her do. Now to see that all of that was actually, I thought it was just offerings. All of that was like true magic. So guys, get your bread out before it goes bad, and you can use that as offerings on your altar. Cornbread specifically, if you're trying to build the wealth in your home, you can have some sweet cornbread and have some honey with it. Always when you're doing bread work, because bread is heavy in the Bible, I would suggest reading Psalms 23 every time you're doing it. If you're trying to get married to somebody, you can bake some bread, put a parchment paper with you and your partner's name and birthday, and a little bit of love oil on that parchment paper in the four corners and in the center. Fold it towards you, put it in that bread and let that bread bake with your name. And don't fold it 4 times, just fold it 1 time so it can sandwich towards you. Put it in your bread and bake that bread, and that will make a couple get married. So that is really, really cute. If you want to make a man fall in love with you, you can bake your name paper inside of a loaf of bread, serve him that bread with the honey or some type of homemade jam, and try to make it something that is very personable. So you have to pray over everything that you're serving him. Pray over the jam and pray over the honey if you're going to do either or, okay? If you have a new business or a new home that you're about to move in, the first item before you bring any furniture in your home should be a loaf of bread, just to make sure that you don't suffer from any lack of food or any poverty in your home. And then the next thing you want to bring in is your dining room table. Okay, that's just how we've always done it since I was a little girl. I'm just like, I started remembering some of the things that we would do as when we were young. And the first thing my mom would do when we moved into our house is the first thing she did was walk in with a loaf of bread. And she put it in the kitchen, put it on the kitchen counter. Then the next thing my dad brought in was the dining room table. And he set it up with the chairs and everything right there. Boom, 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 boom. And the bread sat on the dining room table, and the rest of the house got fixed up. The first room my mom fixed up when we moved into our house as a child was the kitchen. She said, you always have to make sure your kitchen is together so you're never going through poverty or struggle. So again, guys, you can use bread in so many different ways to just bring in abundance and nurturing, good health, good fortune. It's an offering for your deities. It's an offering for your ancestors. And whenever you're using it, I've noticed that the best thing to do is read Psalms 23. That's just something that I've noticed is consistent with using bread. So that's it. Let me get back to making my cascarilla. And if y'all want to learn any more tips and tricks and anything else about magic, y'all know where to find me. Patreon.com/Insight by Tesh. And I love you. I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye.